Great time. And hopefully next year.
And maybe even some of us older owners is, but I'm back.
Time for throwback, fools. Hit up, fools. Mizzah Tee here, and I got a pretty cool video for you guys today. Been wanting to do a kind of collection video for the N64 for a long time. If you see my video from a while back about my favorite console of all time, you'll know that that title goes to the N64. And so I just wanted to show you guys, I believe the N64 is the console where I have the most games for. I'm not really sure. I guess I'll figure that out sooner or later. Alright, so let's get started. First up, I have Gex, Into the Gecko. These games were somewhat popular in the early to mid 90s. The Gex series, they were known for, you know, their kind of sarcastic humor and kind of pop culture references. This one obviously has a reference right on the cover to wrestling. So, like I said, there's a lot of pop culture stuff in here for, you know, the era that the game came out. So, Gex. This is one of my all-time favorite games on the N64. Mischief Makers, made by Treasure. If you guys are gamers, you know who Treasure is. Treasure made some of the coolest 2D shooters ever made during the early 90s to mid to late 90s on everything from the Genesis to N64, obviously. And I love their games. They have a great sense of humor. The visuals are always really good. They pop. Very colorful, very vibrant, very fast-paced action. Mischief Maker has a nice mix of fast pace, mixed in with you know, some of the more slower kind of platforming stuff, and it has a story, and it's just, the game is cute as hell. The character is cute as hell. This is kind of, I don't know, it has like a, what should I say, like a Mega Man kind of influence to it too, which I love. And yeah, if you're an N64 fan, you have an N64, you don't have this game, get this game now. It's one of the best on the system. Here's one of my early N64 titles, the Turok Dinosaur Hunter. This is very cool because this game came out, you know, a few years after Jurassic Park and dinosaurs. There was so many like dinosaur horror movies and stuff come out, like Carnosaur and stuff like that. And it was just awesome to have a video game where you could, you know, hunt dinosaurs genetically enhanced and kind of cyborg dinosaurs. I played the hell out of this game, probably beat it like 4 or 5 times. It has that infamous fog filter. Basically, technical limitations of the N64. For some people, you know, some of the companies that weren't as great with the hardware, there was a lot of foggy games, you know, stuff that cover up the draw distance, because, you know, technically some of the developers weren't really good at, you know, especially early on, making games with big open worlds. But yeah, Turok, I love this game. It's one of my favorites on the system. It's a first-person shooter, obviously, but it has like platforming elements. I love it. Great game. Another one of my early pickups on my N64, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. One of the best Star Wars games not based on a movie. And you know, it's based on not fan fiction, the novels. I believe the novel was called Shadows of the Empire, and it's based on that. Dash Rendar is the character you play as. He's kind of a Han Solo type of character. The controls are pretty stiff and awkward sometimes, but there's just so much cool Star Wars stuff going on in this game that I played through all that. Had a blast with this game. When it came out, it was visually impressive. Being able to play the Battle of Hoth in a Star Wars game This is the first time I played it. I don't know if there was any other Star Wars games that did that, but you know, doing all the stuff like being able to use the tow cable to, you know, make the ATSTs fall over. This is one of my favorite games early on. I played the crap out of this. I'll probably beat this 4 or 5 times too. It's just a fun game and really cool modes, like, you know, there's first-person shooter type of stuff. There's third-person action platforming, and there's also flight simulation. You know, using different Star Wars ships and stuff to battle in space and all that stuff. Very cool, awesome game. I loved it. Here's one of my favorite sports series, if you will, of all time. The Courtside series on N64. This is Courtside 2. I have one. I'm sure that'll pop up later. I'm not doing this in any order, just whatever I pulled out. So Kobe Bryant, Courtside, easily the best basketball simulators on N64. Very polished, great commentary, fast, fun games, and visuals were great on this for the time. Pilotwings 64. Love Pilotwings. Had the Super Nintendo version, so I had to get 64 when it came out. I think this was the other. I don't remember exactly which ones were the. I think it was Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings, or I can't remember. These were the 2 launch titles that the N64 had. Only 2. So people complaining about stuff today. 2 launch titles, and this is a cool game. It's kind of a laid-back kind of sim. Nothing fast-paced or crazy. If you know Pilotwings, you understand. It was just kind of a fun flight simulator, kooky type of game. So yeah, I recommend this. Pretty cool. And we have Excitebike 64. And if you played this game, you know the announcer sounds somewhat similar to that. This was an awesome game when it came out. One of the early extreme sports games in that era. In the mid-90s, extreme sports was so huge. Mid-90s, early 2000s, and this game was so good. Has a track editor on it. So much fun. It's fast-paced. It was really good simulator. Like, you know, your bike would overheat and all that stuff, so you had to pay attention to that. It was really technical, very technical game, not arcadey like the original one for NES. This was a very technical game, and if you didn't sit down and learn the controls and learn how to play it, it would frustrate the crap out of you. So awesome game. If you have N64, you have to have this game. Pokemon Stadium. This game was so cool, so innovative, and strange because it gave you a name label if you wanted to write your name on your cartridge, which is pretty strange. Nintendo did weird stuff all the time. But the cool thing about this is that it came with the actually, I have it in reach, this little device here, the N64 transfer pack. And so you can bring over your Pokemon game from Game Boy. You can bring over your characters. You plug this in to here, and this goes into your N64 controller, where your Rumble Pack would go, and you can transfer the Pokemon that you have in this game over to your Pokemon Stadium game. And this was such a cool, innovative thing. So I had to get this when it came out. You know, being able to play Pokemon characters in a 3D action, you know, arena was so cool, because, you know, we were so used to just playing them on that monochrome screen of the Game Boy, or you know, the semi-monochrome, semi-colored screen, the Game Boy Color. And it was so cool to be able to see Pokemon characters in 3D for the first time. Very cool. Awesome game. Adventure Racing. Another announcer from the game. It says just that. Beetle Adventure Racing. This is a hidden gem on the N64. It's a licensed game for VW Beetles. And you would think, oh, licensed game, they suck. This is one of the best racers I think I've ever played. So much fun. Really cool. Good humor in a racing game, yeah. And every car is a damn VW Beetle, and somehow that doesn't make it bad. I mean, it's still really fun to play. You get different colors and stuff like that, but it's so much fun. The arcade, it's very arcadey. It's not a simulation racer, and it's a rare game. I think it's rare. It's a rare find, but not rare as in the companies. EA made this, at least they published it, and this is just a cool game. So much fun. The graphics were great, again, for its time, for the N64, and highly recommend this game if you can come across it. If you're an N64 gamer, collector, whatever, check it out. And let's just keep the racing going with Diddy Kong Racing. Diddy Kong Racing is an awesome game by Rare. You know, likened to like the Mario Kart series. This is Rare's version of a Mario Kart game. And this is really cool because you had like boss battles. It was an adventure game. It wasn't just racing. And you had different vehicles. You can fly, planes, and somehow it worked. It didn't seem like it would work, being able to, you know, fly around the track and stuff. But this game was so good. Unlike Mario Kart for the 64, the character models were actually in 3D, as to whereas in Mario 64 or Mario Kart 64, they were 2D sprites. The characters, the karts were, I think the karts were also 2D sprites, the whole thing. And in this game, the kart and the characters were 3D models, and it's just another another example of Rare one-upping Nintendo, technically. You know, and the visuals and stuff in the technical department on their consoles. Rare had a real good grasp of Nintendo hardware, to even better than Nintendo at sometimes. And all right, so here's Doom 64. This is actually the European version, or what do they call? I guess European version, right? This game is actually different from Doom. I believe it's different from Doom. The original Doom. I think this is almost a sequel. I want to say this is like Doom 2. I think. I have to look that up. I'll leave a thing on the screen if I check it out before I make this video, put it up. So yeah, this is and the European version is the best version out of the N64 regions. Japan version I think had like green blood, and the American version I think was slower, or something was different. Like the speed of the game was slower. This is the best version of it on 64 anyway. So yeah, I'm a big racing fan, so I'm gonna say this a few times. During the late N64 to GameCube era, I was kind of a super fanboy, Nintendo fanboy. So anytime I felt like Nintendo didn't get a certain genre or a certain game that was on another console that was big, that when Nintendo got its version, I was totally jumped on it. And so this is like, PS1, PlayStation had Gran Turismo, so this was my N64's version of Gran Turismo anyway. Not close at all, but at the time I pretended it was just as good. My fanboy really flew during N64. I was doing a lot of looking over my Nintendo fanboy shoulders, and I'll show you some other examples of that, of games that I felt like were Nintendo's version of whatever game that was popular on the PlayStation. So for me, this was the Gran Turismo of the N64. It's really good. It's a really good sim racing game, but it's not nowhere near GTA, the Gran Turismo games. So pretty cool though. And here is a innovation game. I'll point out games that I felt are innovative, at least on consoles. I mean, I was a PC guy back in the day. I did play PC games, but I don't remember any game before WinBack that gave you that did the third person action cover shooter. This was like the first game I remember that did that. You can bounce in and out of cover as you're killing stuff, and obviously Gears of War made that really famous. But before that, way before that, WinBack on N64 was the game, and I think it came out later on PlayStation 2. WinBack did, but this was the original N64 one, and it was awesome. Bomberman 64. As you can see, we're a little worse for wear these days. Bomberman 64. This was like the Bomberman wanted to come into the 3D era with the 3D action kind of platforming adventure game. You know, with Mario 64 being so popular and just blowing everything out of the water, I guess Bomberman wanted to take its hand and say, we got a cute, you know, mascot character. Let's make a 3D platformer out of that. And it's a pretty good one. It's not great, the platforming 3D, but the multiplayer, that's where I spent most of my time on this game, is in the multiplayer. Me and 3 other friends just bombing each other. If you know anything about Bomberman games, the multiplayer is probably always best anyway. It's the most fun. So Bomberman 64, awesome. Love this game. And here's a game that that I would, you know, vouch for, even though it's technically not that great. Is Fighting Force 64, and this also came out on PS1, I believe. And this is you know, your brawler, your 3D beat 'em up brawler. This is the evolution of it from the 2D brawlers. Like this was actually supposed to be Streets of Rage. And you can look at some of the characters; they're kind of similar. Hawk is very similar to I can't think of the blonde guy's name in Streets of Rage, but this was supposed to be, and I guess the rights or something were in question, and then Streets of Rage went over to being Die Hard trilogy. Die Hard games evolved also from Streets of Rage. There's a deep history on Streets of Rage, and Fighting Force is one of the games that came out of experimenting from 2D brawler to 3D. And it's, you know, it's a really stiff kind of game. The controls, the camera is awful, pretty much awful in this game. And you're playing 2 players at the same time. Oh my gosh, it's just a nightmare because you get stuck easy, like one person on one end of the screen. But it just holds a place in my heart. It was, you know, one of the first games with the 3D kind of 2D to 3D brawler evolution, and so I immediately grabbed it because I love 2D brawlers back in the day, and that's why it holds a special place, because even though it's not that great, this basically was Streets of Rage 3D. So still pretty fun. I played it with my son about a week ago. We had fun. I had a lot of fun. We almost beat it. It gets tough toward the end, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And back to kart racing, we have Mickey's Speedway USA. This was also made by Rare, and Rare, you know, perfecting their kart racer making skills, decided to get Disney in on it. And I would like to say this is a Rare game. A lot of people don't talk about it as much, but this is just as good to me as Mario Kart 64. Well, not let me take that back. Not as good, because there's just things about Mario that you can't replace, the music and stuff like that. But this was a really solid kart racer on N64, and highly recommend it. Not a lot of people talk about it, and it's a Rare game, so you know it's going to be good. So, all right, and next up we have Nuclear Strike, and Nuclear Strike is another one of those kind of throwback games, evolutionary type games. This would probably be like classified like as a shoot 'em up, like a you know, shmup, a Japanese shooting game where you're in a spaceship or something and you're just blasting along, like a what's the game? What's that game series I can't think of right now? The Gradius, like a Gradius, but this is much slower, and you know, you can save hostages, and it's a top-down shooter, and you're in the helicopter, obviously, and you're just, you know, taking out enemies and taking out enemy camps and saving people, rescuing them, missions. Very fun arcade style game by THQ. And here is Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside. This is the original one. It's such a weird name because this one is Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside, and the next one is called Courtside 2, starring Kobe Bryant. It's weird. But yeah, this is the original. Again, this is the best basketball game you're gonna find. The series anyway, you're gonna find at N64. Stay away from End Zone. Those games are garbage. One of the few games I bought, played for 10 minutes and took it right back. NBA, was it End Zone 98 or 99? I can't remember which one, but utter garbage. But these games are great, NBA Courtside games. And being a big Kobe Bryant fan, definitely picked these up right away. The funny thing about this game is me and my friend used to play it all the time. It has this glitch, inbound glitch, that you can steal the ball almost every time your opponent inbounds it. It's hilarious, and used to piss him off, and he hated playing me because of that, because I exploited that glitch. And up here we have Wave Race 64, one of the early N64 titles. Needs no introduction. Those water physics from 1996 were amazing, and again, one of the best games you're going to find on the system. Beautiful, beautiful game. Great series. I hope Nintendo brings back. We got Blue Storm on GameCube, but the cool thing about this is that there's a Japanese version, and what's special about this is that this has rumble pack capabilities, so you get to feel all the bumps and waves and all that cool stuff, and it feels really good. It's not just like a cheap rumble. You feel like you're on waves, and highly recommend this version. It's very rare, so if you can find it, get it. There's a regular Japanese version, and there's the rumble pack version. I think that's what this wording is right here. Yeah, you can see the little, see if I can fix that, the little jaggy things there, that means rumble. So make sure you get the version that has this label if you're gonna get it. Very cool. Highly recommend it. All right, so that's it for today's N64 gems. Let's turn the camera and look at that. Let's get a look at those games while I'm talking. So yeah, this is part 1. It's probably going to be a 5-part series. I have a lot of N64 games I'm going to go over, so be looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm glad to be able to share this with you guys. It's one of my favorite consoles of all time. It is my favorite console of all time. And oh, one more quick thing, almost forgot. I found this on eBay. One of the complaints about the N64 is that the top labels don't exist. Like the Super Nintendos, you would get like the label of the game up here, like the name. And N64 doesn't have that, so you can't like stack these. And so I found these, and this is like every N64 game. There's only like 300, I think 296 or something like that, US, for the US games. And somebody printed out, they have made stickers for the top, for all the N64 games to fix that problem. And the thing that sucks about this is that now I'm going to want to try to collect some of these games that I don't have, even the crappy ones. I'm going to have to go find Into Zone 98 again just to have it for the collections. But this is very cool, and it has, like I said, all of them. There's some extra ones there. All 296, I think it's 296, 297, something like that, labels. And that's going to be very cool to put these on. Yeah, so yeah, be looking out for the next few parts. Hope you guys enjoy this series. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, like I said, put it together for you guys. And that's it for this video, and I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.
Thank you all for watching Mizzah Tee Show.